Okay, let's switch gears and let's jump into the debates because I know we're going to run out of time. We're going to have to steal a little time from the last segment to keep these debates going because there was so much fun at the Dem debates last week. I mean, I'm sorry if you missed it. Now, I can't totally blame you because I have got it sort of encapsulated down to maybe about 15 minutes of highlights here, so that's the important part. But, a couple of folks were missing from the debates, and that was Marianne Williamson. You remember the magician? What would you call her? The wizard? Marianne Williamson. Also, Tulsi Gabbard, one of our favorites here on the show, the only candidate up there who's reliably anti-war, Tulsi Gabbard. They don't want her, of course, up on that stage. They don't want her message getting out to anybody, just like they don't want Julian Assange's message getting out to anybody, because if there's one thing that's for sure, we got to keep the wars going. We make a lot of money from war now. Don't get all crazy and start questioning the entire mindset of going to war with every country around the world. Don't question that, or we're going to move you off the stage. And that's kind of what happened to Tulsi Gabbard. Both Marianne Williamson and Tulsi Gabbard are polling about as well or better than some of the folks at the bottom end of the Dem debates. And speaking of the bottom end, I tell you what, Kamala Harris just about served up the worst debate performance that I've ever seen. And even her donors are even starting to say, hey, it may be time to pull the plug on this whole shenanigans.
Yeah, she did drop after that debate.
Oh, she did terrible.
Yeah.
And I've got some clips in here that I think are going to show you what I mean by that. So let's start out with her trying to do her best impression of Marianne Williamson. This was at the beginning of the debate. Kamala Harris.
Thank you. It's great to be back at TSU. So I plan on spending tonight talking with you about my plans to address the problems that keep you up at night. But first, I have a few words for Donald Trump, who we all know is watching. So, President Trump, you've spent the last 2.5 years full-time trying to sow hate and division among us, and that is why we've gotten nothing done. You have used hate, intimidation, fear, and over 12,000 lies as a way to distract from your failed policies and your broken promises. The only reason you've not been indicted is because there was a memo in the Department of Justice that says a sitting president cannot be charged with a crime. But here's what you don't get. What you don't get is that the American people are so much better than this. And we know that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us, regardless of our race, where we live, or the party with which we're registered to vote. And I plan on focusing on our common issues, our common hopes and desires, and in that way unifying our country, winning this election, and turning the page for America. And now, President Trump, you can go back to watching Fox News.
I mean, 1.5 minutes, and she said nothing. I mean, could you be any less compelling? You're going to tell us about your plan for tonight is to tell us about your plans, but then let's just talk generally about, what unites us is so much more than what divides us. But don't listen to any of the specifics that they say later, because if you listen to the specifics, it'll become apparent to you that what divides us is what's most important to the Democrats. So, here that was the beginning for Kamala Harris, and it just gets worse from there. But I want to listen now in on somebody, and this is going to be the only clip we're going to hear from him, and that's Andrew Yang, because he comes at things from a totally different perspective. Andrew Yang is the free money candidate.
Buy the votes.
Now, the insanity of this is really beyond me. The idea that if we just give everybody more money, then they'll be able to afford more things. Like the price isn't going to go up when we give everybody more money. If everybody has more money, naturally, producers and people that are retailers are going to raise their prices a little bit because all of a sudden everybody's got more money. So let's up the prices a little bit. But here's Yang's idea on free money.
In America today, everything revolves around the almighty dollar. Our schools, our hospitals, our media, even our government. It's why we don't trust our institutions anymore. We have to get our country working for us again instead of the other way around. We have to see ourselves as the owners and shareholders of this democracy rather than inputs into a giant machine. When you donate money to a presidential campaign, what happens? The politician spends the money on TV ads and consultants, and you hope it works out. It's time to trust ourselves more than our politicians. That's why I'm going to do something unprecedented tonight. My campaign will now give a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for an entire year to 10 American families, someone watching this at home right now. If you believe that you can solve your own problems better than any politician, go to yang2020.com and tell us how $1,000 a month will help you do just that. This is how we will get our country working for us again, the American people.
I mean, what insanity? Would you donate to Andrew Yang's campaign? I mean, he's going to turn around and give your money away to somebody else.
Well, I might get it right back.
Well, you're going to put in for that, aren't you, Pat George? You're going to put in for your freedom dividend.
10 people are going to
10 people out of how many donated, right?
Yes.
So you got better odds of winning the lottery. You do better to take your money down and buy a lottery ticket. But that's Andrew Yang for you. And I'll tell you what, he's actually got a little bit of momentum in the primaries, I think because he's coming at it from such a different angle, which is the free money angle. The free money. I'll give you free money. Well, then the debate turned quickly to health care, and I thought it was interesting how they all talked about what a debt we owed to Barack Obama for health care. Meanwhile, they're telling us how broken the deadgum health care system is. In fact, they've got to do such a radical change to fix it. So to me, it sounds like they're kind of doing both things. They're both praising the existing healthcare system as this amazing feature of our country. It's one of the best things Barack Obama ever gave us. Oh, by the way, it's so horribly broken, nobody can get the health care they need. I mean, do those two statements go together? Let's hear Elizabeth Warren.
So let's be clear about health care, and let's actually start where Vice President did. We all owe a huge debt to President Obama, who fundamentally transformed healthcare in America.
Okay, fundamentally transformed healthcare, and now all of a sudden, just a few short years later, we got to fix it again?
Morgan, I was so mad when I heard this part, and then when they tried to explain how they were going to give us the health care, it sounded like alphabet soup or Charlie Brown's mom. I was yelling at the I had to turn it off.
Well, how about the biggest gaffe, in my opinion, as a student of politics, and I'm probably over-intellectual. I'm probably too intellectual for what most of the media turns out. But the biggest gaffe of the night, I thought, came from Joe Biden right at this point when he was talking about health care. See if you recognize the line. I mean, I cannot believe he reused the line. Listen.
My health care plan does significantly cut the cost of it. The largest out-of-pocket payment you'll pay is $1,000. You'll be able to get into anyone who can't afford it gets automatically enrolled in the Medicare type option we have, et cetera. But guess what?
Listen.
Of the 160 million people who like their health care now, they can keep it. If they don't like it, they can leave. Number one.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. If we like it, we can keep it. Well, what was I thinking? Hey, did that sound familiar to anybody else? That sounds familiar.
If you like your private health insurance plan, you can keep it. Oh. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
Oh, okay.
Period. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan.
Oh, period, right? That's it. If you like it, you can keep it. So Biden is retreading what is now broadly acknowledged to be the lie that got Obamacare passed. I mean, we had that MIT professor, Jonathan Gruber, talking about the stupidity of the American voter to believe that lie. And now Joe Biden thinks you are so stupid, you won't even hear that he's reusing the same darn lie from last time. I mean, it makes me upset. Now, speaking of stupid, Julian Castro, really got into Biden shortly after that about some of this and attacked his memory. And this was one of the most interesting parts of the debate. Boy, he really went for the jugular, but he came across as sounding just a little bit like a schoolyard bully. Listen
we
here.
owe a debt of gratitude to President Barack Obama. Of course, I also work for President Obama, Vice President Biden, and I know that the problem with your plan is that it leaves 10 million people uncovered. Now, on the last debate stage in Detroit, you said that wasn't true. When Senator Harris brought that up, there was a fact check of that, and they said that was true. I grew up with a grandmother who had type 2 diabetes, and I watched her condition get worse and worse. But that whole time, she had Medicare. I want every single American family to have a strong Medicare plan available. If they choose to hold on to strong, solid private health insurance, I believe they should be able to do that. But the difference between what I support and what you support, Vice President Biden, is that you require them to opt in. And I would not require them to opt in. They would automatically be enrolled. They wouldn't have to buy in. That's a big difference because Barack Obama's vision was not to leave 10 million people uncovered. He wanted every single person in this country covered. My plan would do that. Your plan would not.
They do not have to buy in. They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
Welcome back to the Morgan Streetman Show. And, you know, before the last break, we kind of ran out of time on that clip, so we didn't get to kind of the very end of the clip, which was really the funnier part, which is where Julian Castro starts asking Biden if he just forgot what he said 2 minutes ago. So if you haven't seen that, that's one of the highlights that did make the mainstream media. If you hadn't seen that, it's worth going out there and watching. And I have to say, if you listened hard to Biden's answer immediately preceding that we played, he actually did address the issue. And so I think Julian Castro was a little bit off base about what Biden had said. But that, you know, so that would, you know, maybe if you're in a debate, maybe you don't go for the jugular when you think you've heard something because you might be wrong about it. But anyway, that was one of the points. And I'm telling you, we're going to have to leave a bunch of clips on the table today, unfortunately. But a couple that I really want to get to, and you need to hear these. And these came from Beto ORourke. You know, Robert Francis ORourke, who changes his name to Beto for reasons undisclosed, possibly to appear as though he were Mexican, they say. But in any event, he gives us an interesting history lesson. And Pat George, if you aren't aware, you are a racist, sir.
You know, I called this out in no uncertain terms on August 3rd and every day since then. And I was talking about it long before then as well. Racism in America is endemic. It is foundational. We can mark the creation of this country not at the 4th of July, 1776, but August 20th, 1619, when the first kidnapped African was brought to this country against his will and in bondage and as a slave, built the greatness and the success and the wealth that neither he nor his descendants would ever be able to fully participate in and enjoy. We have to be able to answer this challenge, and it is found in our education system, where in Texas, a 5-year-old child in kindergarten is 5 times as likely to be disciplined or suspended or expelled based on the color of their skin. In our healthcare system, where there is a maternal mortality crisis 3 times as deadly for women of color, or the fact that there's 10 times the wealth in white America than there is in black America. Whoa. I'm going to follow Sheila Jackson Lee's lead and sign into law a reparations bill that will allow us to address this at its foundations. But we will also call out the fact that we have a white supremacist in the White House, and he poses a mortal threat to people of color all across this country.
A mortal
Secretary
threat.
Castro, 45 seconds.
A mortal threat, okay? The reason women are dying in childbirth, that's racism. The reason children are being punished in school, that's just racism. The reason white neighborhoods have more money, that's all racism. Remember, it's endemic to our country. That's what Beto ORourke says. Now, his line of the night, I don't know, you probably heard this one, Pat George.
Oh, yes. And
his line of the night. Yeah, if you got any doubt about where the Democrats are actually coming from on guns, let's put that to rest now.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Now, people in the audience are literally standing up
yeah.
and jumping up and down, shaking their hands, shouting. Okay, so heck yes, they're going to take our guns. They're not going to allow them to be used against any Americans anymore. That's exactly what the Democrats think. They're coming for the guns. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.